Hello and welcome back to Brothers in Arms, Earned in Blood, the special extras. Let's have a recap. And we made it with this profile second one. So if you want to watch it on your own, just type second squad as your profile. It's a great command, I appreciate that. And here we go. I thought we make this in 3 parts again. So this, and this. Or maybe a second video about the whole, because there's not much. So let's hop in. SLA Marshall Biography, selected view. Samuel Lehman Atwood Marshall was a soldier, war correspondent, historian, and military theorist. He observed, studied, and recorded the action of combat in some of the most dramatic conflicts of the 20th century. SLA Marshall, or Slam as he was called by his close friends, lived a lifetime that spanned war of America's wartime period: World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Marshall participated to some degree in each of these wars. He wrote extensively about combat at the technical level. He published 30 books and numerous papers and articles. This book belonged to Lieutenant Colonel Marshall, Infantry History Branch G2 WDS-6S, Washington, D.C., and should be returned to Lieutenant Colonel SLA Marshall, Infantry HQ Tucson, United States Army. This narrative was begun on 11th July 1944, and the last work was done on 29th July, at which time the HO began work on its 82nd operation. The narrative is not complete. As much was done as was possible in the time available, the HO getting no assistance in the work. The notes do cover and name the principal operations of parachute regiments, including the drop and assembly details of most of the chief elements. Other groups were passed up, so too was the work and details of most of the chief elements. Other groups were passed up. So too was the work and detail of the glider units, engineers, artillery, medical corps, and other. There is nothing here about planning and preparation. The reasons are obvious. Some of this material may be recovered later on. With the support of General Taylor and with the unreserved help and even the enthusiasm of this unit commanders, we undertook this research principally to find out what happened to parachute battalions in the course of conducting for battle. Battalion commanders themselves wanted to know. At the conclusion of 2 weeks of this work, it seemed perfectly clear that there is more to be learned in small unit action from the study of a parachute battalion during any 72 hours than from an average line battalion in a month of fighting. Wait, again, I haven't understood that. 2 weeks this work, it's perfectly clear that there is more to be learned in small unit action from the study of a parachute battalion during any 72 hours from every battalion in a month of fighting. Okay. Marshall's writings are largely based on group after action reviews he conducted shortly after battle. Marshall would assemble a squad, platoon, or company and chronologically trace the military action that the participants and experience with. Marshall wrote extensively about the 101st Airborne Division during the World War II and interviewed many of the paratroopers and soldiers on both sides of the battle, from Normandy, Holland, the Battle of the Bulge, and the Battle for Germany. SLA Marshall as he was left, and SLA Marshall as he is recreated in Brothers in Arms, Earned in Blood. Okay, cool. Let's recon. Yeah, why not? Like that recon. And all ones, the newer ones are not so cool. Oh yeah, I remember this. This was cool, but also not easy. But I don't have the game
unfortunately.
Crosscom activated.
Maybe I will buy them.
Vulture, this is
Oh,
Ghost Leader. Multiple
I want to
strikers
play.
bearing 120.
Copy that, Ghost Leader. Targets acquired.
Vulture, Ghost Leader. Target is confirmed.
Acknowledged, Ghost Leader. They're on their way.
Looks like an Abrams.
I'll take the sniper. Ramirez, take the tank. I'm on it.
Brutal. This is an 18 plus video. Trailer. Yeah.
Form up on me. Let's keep moving.
Fuckers hit! Give us cover! Multiple hostiles located. Light them up!
Yeah, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare. Nice. Cool. Blazing Angels game trailer. Blazing Angels? I don't remember this game. Why they put game trailers into this game? That's strange somehow. But yeah, just some advertisement everywhere.
Copy, going to the next whip. Copy, target in all. Roger, here we go. Attacking bombers. Number 4. Are you okay? Are you hit? Achtung, der Feld ist belegt. Nicht landen, wiederhole, nicht landen. Mayday, I'm going down. You're right. Get him off me. I got it, hang on. I'll be right there. Copy, I'll cover you. You're looking for something. I got one. Target on fire. Directed. Roger, heading home.
Ah, yes, that would. Yeah, one of my most favorite games as a kid is getting a remake. Yeah, and that is B-70 Flying Fortress or something, or you can control every person in the bomber and you have to do bombing stuff, you know. That was so cool, its abilities and so on. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this game. So, but we are now in the AAR, the Convoy Ambush Selected View. The special official after-action report covers the paratroopers' confrontation with German convoy in the pre-dawn hours of D-Day. Lieutenant Colonel Cole led a mixed group of paratroopers from the 101st and 82nd towards his objective. Along the way, they ran into a German convoy, and the ensuing action became a bit of a legend amongst paratroopers in both divisions. Why? Part mentioned in this section of the AR is the first ever recorded and possibly the most famous example of a phenomenon soldiers have referred to ever since as LGOPs, little groups of paratroopers. After scattering from a drought, the LGOPs were mixed men in different companies, regiments in different divisions, yet they gathered together and pressed on the objective of the ranking officer of the group, in this case Lieutenant Colonel. Wow. They followed the road going northeast and traveled on that for about half an hour, running into Captain Clemens and Lieutenant Barrett S3 at one of the road junction. Next, the party was joined by Captain Raymond T. Smith, CO of HQ CO, 3rd Major Cinder Regimental S3, and a few men departed regiments as well. Oh, what cool. Oh, okay. Other reports of the fighting from veterans who were there tend to bring them a more glorious description of the action than what SLA Marshall writes in the AAR.
The story of the Coast group intercepting German cards grew to become a legend amongst paratroopers. Sponsor Dick Winters references the event in his personal account, experienced jumping into Normandy on D-Day. They walked on a mile and heard some wagons coming down the road. Someone yelled halt. The first of the Germans stood up in the cart, fired a few rounds and jumped out running. There were 4 or 5 carts in the convoy. Their teammates took to the ditches and Cole's men prodded them out, killing a few and capturing 10. Cinder and Vaughn were told to get the carts emptied. They were loaded with mines and some leather goods. Cole wanted them to collect the bundled supply. Cole pictured he was at the correct point, but they moved off the right looking for a chapel which should be there, and finally finding the checkpoint. An MG was firing loosely over his head as he made this approach. He then went on back to his men and finding the wagon stood raised hell about him. Vaughn had been sent up the road to scout for more wagons. One of the men came back and said he was dead. Some of the Germans had taken an MG from the last cart, set it up in a ditch and plunged it. Cross set it up in the ditch and plunged him as he came by. Cole sent an officer out to check. He found Vaughn's body and next to him a couple of enemies dead. This page of the official after-action report covers the purchase consultation with the German common Okay, next. Purchase report. Let's go. Here, reprogram Patrick Dupin loaded a suit of authentic US armor paratroopers gear that was purchased. They did not still help the team but they recruited the equipment and how it was carried by soldiers. On D-Day, fortunately, paratroopers carried an average of 70 to 90 pounds of equipment. Unfortunately, paratroopers stored much of their equipment in lag bags that were constantly lost in the jump. Yeah. Dropping behind enemy lines into unknown territory, paratroopers need to be prepared for any conditions or situation they might encounter. The standard D-Day paratrooper loadout included a rifle, bayonet, ammunition, explosive, water, knives, rations, gas mask, kit, compass, rope, bandage, engine kit, wire cutters and personal items. Most of these items were carried in pouches attached to a paratrooper's uniform. Some ammo. Not much, but yes. 2 different weapons? Already. I know the weapon is in 2 parts. Okay. I have to. Wow, okay. Here's a fully loaded reference model that was used during the recreation Brothers Arms, Earned and Blood. During the jump sequence of the game, if you look closely, you'll notice that most of the troopers in the plane also have a lag bag which carried their primary weapons, explosive and other equipment. Also lost the lag bag into the jump. Yep. Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Cassidy was the commander of 1st Battalion, 502nd Paratroop Infantry Regiment and 101st Airborne Division during the D-Day Normandy invasion. His nickname Harlong was borrowed from the name of a cowboy movie star who was famous in the 30s and 40s. On D-Day alone, Cassidy's soldiers took the German artillery garrison near Object XYZ, established key roadblocks at Bougainville and secured exit 3 and 4 of Utah Beach. This hand-drawn map defines Cassidy's area of activity on D-Day. Gun position, exit. It's so cool, this original material. Here, Cassidy stands with the 502 EIR, 3rd Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel Steve Chapios, an official history army historian S.A. Marshall, wrote that Cassidy's battalion did the one best job of America on D-Day. Marshall's after-action reports placed Lieutenant Colonel Cassidy in the same action Corporal Hartsock experienced on D-Day in Brothers in Arms, Earned and Blood. The 101st in Normandy's During World War II, the 101st Airborne Division led the way on D-Day in a night drop prior to the invasion. On June 5, 1944, the division prepared for its first combat operation. The airborne invasion of Normandy, the 101st would drop 6,700 soldiers behind enemy lines and disrupt the Germans before the massive Allied beach assault on the coast of Normandy. Wow, kid, look at that. The paratroopers were lightly armed. The parachutists were flew in by gliders. The gliders were the only means to carry heavy equipment such as jeeps and anti-tank cannons. Once on the ground, the paratroopers served as light infantry and had to fight with the weapons they could carry. Yep. The plan of the 101st Airborne Division in the D-Day operation was to knock out the German artillery that could fire on Utah Beach, seize the exit of Utah Beach to support the amphibious landing in the 1st Infantry Division, and block any German counterattacks. 101st accomplished every mission and was subsequently ordered to seize the fighting town of Cartown. Pictured above 101st Airborne Division anti-tank gunners towed by a jeep in the streets of Cartown, France. Wow, you really have to read fast. Cartown is critical and is split Utah Beach in the west and Omaha Beach in the east. Another first took Cartown on June 12th and held it against three German counterattacks at Hillburn. This battle was helped to secure the Continental Peninsula. Pictured above, 101st Airborne Division, the anti-tank gun also the town of Cartown, France did not count German stoop behind the anti-tank gun was from the 70s as Panzer Grenadier Division that counterattacked the 101st. 1 month after jumping into Europe, when the 101st mission in Normandy was complete, 1 in 4 men had been killed around it. In early July 1944, the 101st Airborne Division finally returned to England to subsequent airborne operation. The Screaming Eagles of the 101st, the proud heritage that was born in the struggle of free fronts on D-Day, June 6, 1944. Today they continue the proud heritage and remember the courage and commitment of the veterans of WW2. Cool. The dialogue creation process. From concept to completion, character and story development is a complex and involved process. The story's foundation is the actual event that took place in PV2, so a rough outline was created with the collaboration of key developers. Here, writer Michael Neumann and the historical director John Anton discussed the context of the script. And we saw that already in the last writer Michael Neumann discussed the scenario with lead level designer Eric Duscher. Throughout the process, writers constantly interact with content developers because the story has to be integrated with the missions and the creation of custom animation and content needs to be achievable. An edition of the planned script, dynamic dialogue system are planned out and each character is given a voice to suit their character and their role in the story. The programmer Ryan Conlon creates a character fluid with dynamic in-game behaviors and action. When the script is complete and the character's voice has been cast, recording begins in the studio. Typical several pickup sessions are planned that allow new lines to be added or timing and inflection to change after the first recordings are implemented in-game. Here, audio director David McGarry cuts and edits dialogue to boost the game. Because there are tons of thousands of spoken lines equivalent arms, and edit civilian process because many engineers it takes hundreds of man hours to complete. In order to make the character's mouth move correctly when speaking, the lines to final audio data is analyzed and interpreted by a sophisticated program. The program looks at the waveform and makes decisions about what shape a human voice has to form in order to generate that kind of sound. Okay, it's kind of AI. Once our audio editing and lip syncing have occurred, level designers may reference the dialogue in the game. Here designer Dorian Gorski works out the blocking and timing and dialogue sequence in the game. Final step is what called mixdown. Audio engineer David McGarry listened to the final implementation of audio and adjust audio levels and dynamic settings, including roll of over distant ambient, reverb, Doppler effects and the like, so that the game sounds and realistic as actual combat in 1944. Normally, oh, so much to read. My mouth is getting dry. The M3 Grease Gun. The M3 submachine gun, nicknamed the Grease Gun, was issued a soldier in 1942 by the United Soldiers Call Point. The nickname due to the weapon's unique look and design feature of containing a gun oil reservoir on the base of the gun. What? Nicknamed Grease Gun. Okay. M3 and later improved M3A1 were developed and manufactured by General Motors Corp. The weapon's small, compact design and made it ideal for the tankers and mechanized infantrymen of WW2. Designed specifically as a local substitute for the Thompson submachine gun, the weapon proved to be both durable and reliable on the battlefield. The weapon features a gas-operated blockback design which allows it to fire approximately 350 to 460 rounds per minute. Other features of the M3A1 include the retractable stock, the dual box magazine, a built-in gun oil reservoir, an indicator, and an injection port cover to keep dirt off the... Additionally, the stock functioned as a wrench for removing the barrel, magazine loader by using a small shell bracket welded at the rear, and cleaning tool for the bore. First, San Martin and Warfield. Excerpts from the script that present the objective. Lieutenant Colonel Cassidy gives Hartsock to find medical supplies for the wounded allies. So you follow Lieutenant Colonel Cassidy's command post, Hartsock beyond. Yes, sir, I was trying to get word on Baker's location. Guess I got a little sidetracked. Door leads Hartsock into the farmhouse where a few wounded men are in the floor, bandaged, clearly in pain. Well, there's the bad news. They're banged up pretty bad. Without any medical supplies, it's not looking good. Prior, here was with him. I was told the crowds have a makeshift crowd aid station in a church in San Martin. With all the bandages and plasma you can find, we need it now. Corporal Sven Conway. A few minutes after Troy cleared away, stretching away. Actual report of the police situation Cassidy was in it. As his CP took more and more casualties but ran short of medical supplies. After a few minutes, Troy cleared away. A stretch party came into the aid station carrying one man shot above the heart. Another shot through both legs. Lieutenant Elmer F. Brandenberger, who had been conducting the fight against XY and Z, a hand grenade or body trap had exploded next to his arm and it was shattered and shredded. He said the two groups of houses had been taken and he added, "Sorry, I'm terribly sorry I got hit. I didn't do my job very good." Another runner came in at that moment to report that the men at the houses were running low on ammunition. The wounded were turned over to the medical sergeant Eugene L. Ford. He said he had only 2 units of blood plasma left and asked, "Shall I give it to the man shot over the heart or to Brandenberger? The private may die anyway. Looks like it. Brandenberger is bleeding terribly and may die unless he gets it." Cassidy made the snap decision. Ford came to him again. He said he had tried to stop Brandenberger's bleeding but couldn't. The bone was shattered, the arm had grown but only a few threads of flesh. He couldn't get into the bone with it. Compressors and he had no plasma. He had vague memory of having passed a bundle that looked like a medical bundle. Lieutenant Evans came back wounded and within the hour. Captain Fitzgerald still clinging to life and the other wounded from Bougainville were brought in on meat wagon along with Captain Troy. Cassidy had to put another wagon into his collecting service. There were supply bundles scattered all over the countryside, and he sent the men out to see what they could find. Hard. Matt Baker is the son of Captain Joseph and Julia Fort Benning, Georgia on February 22, 1923. His parents discovered 1927 when Matt was only 4 or divorced. Julia came from a wealthy family and military life did not agree with her. Captain Baker continued to be assigned around the world in the US Army, posted in the US, Panama, and China. Matt Baker grew up in St. Louis and only saw his father on rare visits and through letters. When Matt was in high school, he became close friends with George Whistler. They both graduated from high school in 1941 and enlisted in the US Army on June 9, 1942, the day after they graduated from high school. They went to basic training together and both wanted to join the parachute. Unfortunately, George broke his leg in basic training and was cycled to a late training class. Matt volunteered for the parachute training at Fort Benning and was eventually assigned to the altitude parachute infantry regiment on the 101st Airborne Division 2 weeks before the day. Sergeant Sanderson, the squad leader of their squad, their platoon, broke his leg in a practice parachute jump. Platoon Sergeant McCassey promoted Corporal Baker to sergeant and placed Matt in charge of the bird squad. Okay. The German SD Kfz 2.1 Half-Track was introduced into action in 1939. Half-Tracks were technologically advanced vehicles capable of transporting troops, delivering supplies at speed comparable or greater than those of the tanks they were designed to support. Virtually every nation involved in the two made extensive use of half-tracks. However, no nation relied more heavily on them than the Germans. Throughout the course of the war, the Germans designed and built thousands of half-tracks in numerous variations. Primarily designed to be an armored troop transport, these versatile vehicles ended up being used in numerous other applications, from ambulances to mobile machine gun platforms. The SD Kfz 2.1 fought in battles in Ireland and Blood was one of Germany's more commonly used half-tracks, especially in the Northern battles. True patrol. Okay. We're nearly at half an hour. So, yeah, we'll only get those. This page begins the section of the actual Republic of True Patrol, which is the historical reference for the chapter of the same name in Bronze Art and Company C was supposed to go to Louisville, and set up its roadblocks there. After setting about the mission, it became engaged around the hamlet of Esch-Furnel and did not get past there. The effect which it produced on the enemy with a remarkably small number of men, however, was considerable and contributed as much as anything to the battalion record for that day. Though Captain Fred A. Hadcock refers to his platoons on that day, it will be seen that they were hardly more than fairly strong patrols numbering 2 squads of fewer each. Reconstitution was split in force to kill the German half-tracks. From his position to the rear of the hamlet, Hancock could get very little impression of this engagement. He knew that the point had gone on, and hearing the sound of firing, he presumed it was encountering enemy forces of some size. What he would have done then remains a question. Had he not subtly noted Germans' RTPCs 288s with half-track come down the road through the village and halt just in front of him? The capture of the guns then became all important consideration. He split his force to waves 70 men with Lieutenant Bernard Boussiol, Usher, were to make a wide sweep to the left, while Lieutenant Jack Borchardt with 70 men would come in from the right of Brunel and somewhat shorter exits. The use of enemy weapons including LMG to destroy a platoon
platoon of Germans before taking mortar fire themselves. Also interesting is the reference to scattered mixed units in the area. There was no longer any firing near them, but they could hear mortar fire on the village and they saw a house burning. The man with Schmeister yelled, "Look out!" He was on the right and had spotted 20 Germans coming across the pool towards him. Matthews could see them through the gate. He and the 82nd man stood in a roadway in plain sight and put fire at them. As it became necessary to change route in the MG, Matthews and Hicks changed places, about 16 of them. Enemy were cut down and did not move from or get down. The MG driving in the MG. Why is this small? Driving on all two belts. The two riflemen kept firing off and up to the left wing or shot. They were getting some fire from that flank. 10 minutes passed. A mortar shell dropped square in the middle of the road. Smith sent Boone and the courtyard to look for a way out as grenades again began to fall around the building. Boone returned and said, "There is any exit." Smith told him to scale the wall, and as he jumped up beside Boone, he was running if the Germans were coming around to head him off. 20 yards beyond the wall was a hedged road with a muddy willow beside it. They drove into the mud and covered themselves with it so that only their lips and noses were sticking out. Company C was supposed to go to Sweden and set up its roadblocks there, but setting about that mission, it became engaged around the hamlet of H. Funnel and did not get past there. The effect which is produced on the enemy with a remarkable small number of men, however, was considerable and contributed as much as anything to the battalion. Recall that had called refers to platoons on the day. It will be seen that they were hardly more than fairly strong, patrols numbering 2 squads of each. We had read that already, right? Yeah. Maps and photos of the 3 patrol areas selected. Orch, Hadley, Hancock's position, then Cotton's position, second position, okay. This photograph was taken by Cube Observer that was only one observer that allowed the surveying location to be recreated as well as an arms mental lab. Besides the paved road and modern signs, very little had changed over the last 6 years. I don't really remember this. This layout image from the game was used to color code unique buildings with labels and photograph and using a photograph and doesn't power was a footage captured by the Toolbox 17 in France were used during development to create each building and road as it is in print light. Oh my god! This picture was taken in a 3 patrol action. The following image taken from the game demonstrates how closely the real environments are recreated in Brothers in Arms during the plot. This development discussed the action that took place here 60 years ago. As the people who live in the house today. Compare this in the game. The previous picture of that same location. Real life to get seen with much care has gone to recreating real locations for Brothers in Arms and unplugged. Nice. Ranks and insignias. It was very important song that they serve to enhance prior to early courage and times are tough. The Hunters ever mission are very proud to be called the Screaming Eagles. Their shoulder patch is shown here. Private, Corporal, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, Master Sergeant, First Sergeant. Not just about who is in charge, they are also badge of leadership. These advanced ranks they demonstrate more capabilities, take responsibility of the lives of their soldiers, they send equipment and accomplishment of their assigned tasks.
table shown here illustrates the common ranks in the system of the US Army. This table shows the ranks of officers of the US Army WW. Wow. Definition of rank, which distinguishes leader from that the first application uses an extent of identification symbols that are painted on both sides of the soldier's helmet. These symbols were used to identify each regiment of the cavalry. Sergeant Hartzell and Sergeant Baker in the 1202 Parachute Infantry Regiment. The designation of this regiment was quite hard. This photo shows a recreation wearing the updated uniform of veterans, 1202 Parachute Infantry Regiment. Notice the heart on the side of his helmet. Screamers, go! Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Have a good night. Have a good fight. And see you next time. Bye.